So guys, welcome to the video, the voiceover part of the video. So today is basically just going to be me running through the full upper session. So still got the same split as prior since I last spoke about my split. So pull, push legs, Monday to Wednesday, Thursday off, Friday upper, Saturday lower, Sunday off, and it's working really well. So first movement we do the Atlantis lateral raise. So currently all of my lateral movements are single arm. So first of all, reason being that I connect better when I do it unilaterally. Second reason being you can really manipulate your body to line up the machine perfectly with how you want it to suit the resistance profile and to create a greater range of motion. And also third to that, when you're doing unilateral work, you can hopefully balance out any imbalances. And with me, my right side, my right side delt, and my right shoulder, my right arm are all a little bit smaller than the left. So doing single arm is a good way to try and counteract that. So currently just at that baseline volume. So the first movement, the lateral raise, I did a 12 to 15 set rest pause, and Reese does 2 sets. And again, Reese does both arms. He does it as a dual arm movement because it fits him fine, whereas for me, I just feel it connected a lot better to unilateral. So again, find what is going to fit you the best. So second movement was the Nautilus chest press. So really quite like this machine. It's not like a decline, but I set the seat quite high so that I'm not pressing in an incline manner at all, because we go on to the Nautilus shoulder press, which when we set up the sort of arch in our back and the stability component makes it quite like a high incline press. So this is almost like a flat / decline press. Again, like I say, baseline volume, so this is just 1 set for me. At the minute, I'm pretty much just doing 1 set on compounds of about an 8 to 10, 1 set of isolations of about 12 to 15. Odd few things like side delts, arms, abs, adductors, I am kind of at normal volume or allowing myself to do a rest pause. But everything else, it's just beating me up. So I know that just 1 set is plenty to stimulate a response to maintain the muscle as much as possible, but not enough of a response to batter me. And actually I'm feeling pretty good for it as I continue to dig and diet down for the BNBF. So then we, obviously Reese had his 2, again Reese is doing 2 sets. So he's in an off season, he's eating plenty of food, his body weight is going up nicely, his recovery capabilities are in a much better position than mine, so he can easily manage 2 sets, whereas I at the minute just can't. Third movement was the Nautilus shoulder press, and really like this movement. So we set the seat quite low, just to create as much stability as possible. So you can see how we'll both set up. Like we don't sit fully upright, because it's just an awkward position on your rotator cuff if that's the case, and you've just not got as much stability. So this is almost really like a really high incline press, but the connection that I get on my front delts on this is crazy. Reese is very strong on this. I will be very strong on this once I get a lot more food in, but for now, like, I'm maintaining strength very well. Here and there I'm getting reps up. If I'm like on an 8, like say on a compound, I'll want like an 8 to 10. I ran this up to a 12, and then I went up to 2.5 kilo and dropped a couple of reps on this set compared to last week. But it's nice to still be actually able to add a bit of load to some things rather than just keep running the reps up and up and up and up and up. So I'm not really losing any strength, which is great. Yeah, I'm not hitting all-time PBs, of course not, but I'm not losing out on strength at the minute, which is fantastic, and that's what's going to hold me the muscle that I need for the shows. You can see there as well, I didn't go for that final rep because I knew that I didn't have it, and at the minute, with my recovery capabilities being pretty much as low as they're going to be, there's no point in going for those reps that are going to either be forced reps or are going to be 50-50 reps that could cause a bit of a niggle or just going to accumulate a lot of fatigue. The stimulus to fatigue ratio when it comes to that at this stage is quite important, and it's not worth taking the risk of those forced reps. So then the next movement was the chest supported Atlantis T-bar with a pronated grip, so more sort of like a mid / upper back movement rather than a lat movement. Really focusing on retracting the scapula as much as we can and just driving the elbows back. Really like this movement, I really do. I feel like I can really lock in and just go for it and stay locked in and stay over the weight This is something that Progress Works doesn't have, although there is an order on its way. I'm sure they have bought a chest supported T-bar, so that'll be in our program, likely on a pull day as well, when it comes to being at Progress Works. Again, as you can see there, I'm not going for that rep that I just know isn't there. I know Reese would have to force me into the shortened range, and for now I'm not taking forced reps, so we just don't go for that. After that, we went on to a more lat dominant movement, so onto a Nautilus pull down. We use a lot of the Nautilus kit in this session just because obviously we don't have access to it at Progress Works, and the Nautilus stuff is really, really nice. So what I'm trying to think here is hips back, shoulders forward, and just bury my elbows into my hips. So I'm trying not to have too much scapular movement, because we know that the lat doesn't attach at the scapula, and I'm trying to solely target the lat. So I'm not trying to let the scapula move too much. I'm trying to lock it in position and just drag through the elbows to the hips. Obviously, if I was to set up and bring my hips right to the pads and lean back more and retract the scapula more, it's not as if it's not going to be a decent movement still. I'm just going to get a fair bit more mid and upper back because of the scapular involvement. So I'm really trying to sort of not allow the scapula to come into it too much, and just drag. And you can grind out sort of an extra couple of reps here and there from that. And then what I do afterwards is I just hang. So as you can see now, I'm just hanging in the position, and the weight's not touching. I'm taking the load, and I'm just creating that stretch, just to get the added benefit of a stretch at the end of the set. Same with like on pull, I'll add the benefit of a stretch at the end of the session with a hanging leg raise, just to stretch out the lats. Then we moved on to a D handle pec deck. So the reason that we're adding the D handles to the pec deck is basically just to make it a little bit more individualistic. So, you know, not everyone's lever lengths are the same. Not everyone is going to want their wrist to be fully in a neutral position when they're doing a D handle pec deck, or any form of fly. It may not feel comfortable. So, you know, as you can see, Reese was in a slightly more sort of, not pronated, but almost like semi-pronated, whereas I'm almost going fully neutral, and if anything, almost going like to a semi-supinated in some of the reps. And that's just because it's more comfortable for me. Really focusing on scooping on this, so thinking to scoop the elbows together. I'm not thinking to fly and bring the hands together, I'm thinking to scoop the elbows together. With the pec deck, we load it in the beginning range, so here in the stretch, and we'll pause, drag, contract, so it drops off as the pec gets short, which is perfect at this time of the session when the chest is already fatigued. We want to make the most of the reps still, and still get everything out of every set. And obviously, if it was to be heavy in the shortened range, we'd be struggling to get it short. And then with the reverse pec deck, with the rear delt fly, we do the opposite, and we load it in the shortened range, just to really get that pinch on the rear delts. It feels really, really nice when you load it in this shortened range. You can get a really strong contraction and really pinch the rear delts and feel a proper strong contraction every rep. What I'm thinking on this one is hips back, shoulders forward. As you can see, my head is actually against the bar. I'm just really focusing on locking my shoulders forward and thinking to protract and depress my scapula throughout, and just drag the elbows out. I'm trying not to let any retraction occur, because I'm trying to just solely focus on abduction rather than retraction, because the rear delts aren't responsible for retraction of the scapula. Then we go on to a shrug. So making sure that you're using your wraps on every single pull movement to prevent the forearms or grip fatigue being the main sort of factor of failure. That's the last thing we want, so we use the wraps on the majority of pull movements, on every single pull movement. I'm just trying to think drive up and back, and I'm pausing in both ends as well. And at the bottom, I'm thinking to depress my scapula, because that is a function of the traps as well. So don't just relax at the bottom, think to actively depress down, feel the stretch, drag up, don't just throw it up, drag up, squeeze hard, and control. And we just, again, one set there, one set on both the pec deck and the rear delt as well. It's just a higher rep range, 15 to 20 or 12 to 15. I think I go for 15 to 20 on both of those, just a little bit higher rep, and really focus on metabolite work at that time in the session, and internal feel and blood flow. And then it's just arms to finish off, so I just do one set on the prime preacher curl. I load it in the beginning range. Again, you know, being a little bit fatigued at that end of the session, and the biceps being stronger in that lengthened range, I'm trying to really make the most of every single rep. And as you can see, the load drops off as I get into that shortened range, so I can make the most of it and really get it in. It's almost like if you had someone forcing you into that shortened range if you didn't have a prime piece of kit. Again, taking it to failure just as I would anything else. And then finished off with a single arm hammer strength, like overhead tricep press, tricep extension. First time I used this was last week, and it actually feels really nice. You have to make sure you manipulate your body into the right position. I couldn't do it again, I couldn't do it dual arm, so doing it unilaterally, and again pausing in the length and range, driving and contracting hard in the shortened range. I do have a little bit of elbow issues with this sometimes, but it felt pretty good actually yesterday. My joint issues haven't been too bad recently. So that was the full session, and it was a very good one. So then we posed after the session, so what I'll do is I'll leave the posing on the screen after the voiceover. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was a bit of an insight into how you can do an upper session, and a bit of a helping hand in terms of form tips on any of the exercises that you saw. Any questions, please do feel free to ask in the comments or drop me a message. If you could like the video, that would be much appreciated. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you all in the next one.
BNBF, yeah.